Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, the financial literacy brand that wants to make everyone a little bit more financially literate. And today we're going to look into best niche ETFs. Now, we're not actually going to dissect any ETFs in this video, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet and give you some more ideas of different ETF industries or different benchmarks that you can potentially invest in, because as I'm realizing, ETFs seem to be the future of investing for the passive strategy with the low fee over time. And from what I found, there are a lot of options. So we're going to dive into that. But before we start, if at any point you do enjoy this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. It helps out my channel a lot. And if you subscribe, that way you don't miss any new ETF breakdowns or any cannabis media from This Week in Cannabis on the weekends as well. And that being said, if you've not opened your self-directed tax-free savings account in Canada, there's a link below for Wealthsimple Trade and Questrade if you want to open a self-directed TFSA. And then there's also the link through Questrade to open a Quest Wealth account or the Wealthsimple account. Quest Wealth and Wealthsimple are the robo-advisors. So if you don't want to worry about managing your own money, you can use those to manage your money for you at a lower fee, or you can open the self-directed accounts. By opening the self-directed accounts, you get a bit of free money to make your first investments with, and you can also reach out to me and I'll help you navigate the platform. But that being said, I just want to give some information so that you treat search engines like I do. YouTube or Google or DuckDuckGo, any question I have, I literally plug it into here, and this is where I get most of my answers for any question. So do not feel ashamed. I mean, I'm sure you do this as well, but if you're thinking, okay, what other ETFs are there outside of the S&P or outside of the international ones? Like, how can I get more creative and how can I get a head start in these industries? Well, type in something like best niche ETFs, and you get a bunch of answers. So this is more of an idea episode. So we're going to jump through this, through a couple resources here. Now, just to show you, this is an old article from 2018, but these ETFs, chances are still going strongly. And the main thing is just that these are 9 niche ETFs you haven't heard of. So just goes to show that these ETFs have been around for a long time. I mean, before I started investing, before I knew that they were around. But there's a good chance that some of these new themed ones have been launched, probably in the last 5 years. So there's a good way that you're still kind of getting in early to take advantage. So the first one we'll start with MILN is the Global X Millennials Thematic ETF, which focuses on investing in companies trendy or used by millennials. So think Twitter, Netflix, Amazon, anything that you think will, grow a lot for the millennial generation because they rely on it. Unfortunately, there are no avocado companies or avocado toast makers, but this is an idea to consider that given this is a tech-heavy fund with a lot of the FANG companies, Amazon and Netflix, it's done about 11% year to date. So again, not to say that you want to jump into this, but if you're interested in this niche, you might want to consider looking at MILN. Now, main thing is that a lot of these companies or all of these ETFs we cover today will trade on the US exchanges most likely, but I'll try to do another video going forward to find some Canadian niche ones as well. Now, Amplify Online Retail, the ticker is iBuy. This one is looking at a lot of these e-commerce platforms that don't have to spend a lot of money on physical brick and mortar retail locations. So of course, Amazon is a big one there, Carvana, TripAdvisor, Wayfair, basically taking advantage of these big internet-based consumer businesses. And this one, well, because e-commerce sales are up 16%, it seems like there's a lot of growth that is going to be accounted into the price of this one over time as well. So that's another one to consider for online retail. Thirdly, we've got the Obesity ETF. SLIM is the ticker. Interesting. Now, this one, of course, is focusing on companies that are trying to help make people more healthy, boost their immune systems, eat more nutritiously. And I mean, of course, yes, there's a big issue in the States. 7 out of 10 American adults are obese or overweight. That is a big problem. That makes you slower, unfortunately. It just gives you less energy. And we are just energy. So that's ultimately very important to consider companies like this. Insulet Corp, Weight Watchers International. Now, this one, of course, is very niche. And personally, I don't think I would ever invest into these companies because it's a matter of choice. But just good to know that these do kind of exist and they are out there. Now, First Trust Capital Strength ETF, this one's ticker FTCS. Now, this one focuses on companies mainly that just have a ton of cash, great balance sheets, and so some examples here, Apple, Costco. So the idea of these ones, yes, so it's looking for 50 companies. So this ETF tracks an index of 50 companies with bulletproof balance sheets, including $1 billion or more in cash on hand, long-term debt that's less than 30% of the company's market value. So basically, these are long-standing companies that will likely just keep growing over time because they are so dominant in their industry, which would be like Costco for the membership and buy at wholesale prices versus Apple. So it's a good one to look into, especially if you're more conservative. Now, iShares Global Timber and Forestry ETF would. Personally, I would never invest in this because I think we should cut down as little or as less trees as possible and at least resort to hemp. Hemp would replace paper completely. We can use hemp for biomass as opposed to burning wood stock. We could use hemp stock. Like it's an easy switch, but I mean, just good to know that this does exist. It's exactly what it sounds like. Invest in groups of companies that produce forest products, mostly for paper and building materials. And again, so for myself, I know that hemp can build basically anything that wood can, so I would never invest in this. However, it is a popular ETF. 36% of its assets are in U.S. companies, and it does have worldwide exposure, which is great. But again, more than 13% gains in 2018. So that's why if you think wood is a good long-term approach going ahead, that could be an investment for you. Now, of course, gaming is becoming extremely popular. The Eck Vectors Gaming ETF, BJK. This one is a hyper-focused fund on gaming and the gambling industry, but 45 of these ETFs, or 45 assets inside of these ETFs, are basically designed to try and keep you using these products now, and this includes the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, Caesars Entertainment Corp., and I imagine a lot of new companies like Penn Gaming, the one that's partnered with Barstools. Imagine they're probably going to work their way into here. And I mean, the other big catalyst, I guess, was the Supreme Court ruling that gave way for the potential of access to sports gambling across the U.S. Now, I'd forgotten about this. I remember reading about it a while back, but that would be another incentive as to why some of these companies are actually, during times like this where things are actually very difficult and people don't have an abundance of cash on hand, yet it still seems like people expect a lot of growth out of these companies in the long term because, if you allow the opportunity to gamble on sports, people are going to do it. ETFMG, Video Game Tech ETF, GAMR. This one is the same idea, but as opposed to gambling, this is more in the esports niche, which is absolutely massive and growing. This fund helps traders tap into the best names in the space worldwide, including U.S. names like Activision Blizzard, ATVI, Korea's Netmarble Games. Korea is huge in the esports game as well. But this is, again, Western companies and growing Asian companies with huge populations and big consumer fan bases. And video game related sales generated more than $100 billion in revenue last year. Pretty disgusting number. And lastly, to round this off, actually covers the ETFs I did last week, which are the ARK Innovation ETFs. This one does include investing in new innovative industries, electric cars and robotics, new internet companies, a few other ones. I forget the genomic revolution. But nonetheless, this is also another one to try and get way ahead of the game and covers. They actually do have, most of the ETFs are active. They actually do have some passive ones. And I forgot I was actually going to cover the passive ones. So maybe I'll save that for another episode going forward because I've obviously already started. But ARK Innovation ETF is a big one. And if you saw the last video, these ETFs have performed tremendously, and again, they're accounting for a lot of future growth to come going forward. So that does make the current share prices kind of expensive. But again, the whole idea of just knowing that these exist so that you can think of, okay, well, what do I actually value? Do I want to see, do I think driverless cars are important because, it will cause less death from traffic accidents? It will help slow climate change. Like, try to think of what you value and match your investments with what you value over time, because you're essentially using your money to invest in the way you want the world to see, like the outcome that you want going forward. I think that's how I like to see investing, and that's how I hope others will as well. So this is the last one I'm going to cover. I'm just going to show you nicheetfs.com. I'm going to use this going forward to prepare more ETFs to go through for these episodes, but just wanted to show you this resource. If you want to just Google it right now, nicheetfs.com. You've got healthcare specialities focusing on innovation, new energy and utilities, generational, environmental, technology, transportation, finance, public works, communication and media, value-based impact, consumer, innovation, space and defense. So a lot of these do focus on infrastructure, innovation, impact. But these are the types, besides the S&P 500 and the global ETFs, these are the kinds of ETFs you want to get invested in. Now, again, though, a lot of these will likely only trade in the United States, so you will need to use US dollars. But nonetheless, I'll spend more time going over some of these in the future. But I hope this, just more of just this idea episode as opposed to going through them, has given you a better idea of how you want to pick your investments going forward and how you will be more comfortable investing in the long run, just because it's also a cause you care about, something that you believe in, and that makes it easier to put your money behind it, because that's kind of the whole idea of using your energy towards what you believe in. And, if you can invest and grow your money at the same time and solve big problems that the world's facing, that is a win in my books. Anyways, let me know what you think. Do you have any other ideas for ETFs in the comments? Please let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I will be coming out with weekly content, 2 videos a week doing ETF breakdowns and This Week in Cannabis. So if you're interested in learning about investing in the cannabis industry or different ETFs, keep tuning in. And I just want to thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.